All right, everyone. So good afternoon. Thank you, Language Connections, also for being here. I'm very grateful to our facilities team, leadership, especially Elena, who has really helped us put this specific event together. I know one of the things that we really try to take pride in the Center for Teaching and Learning at Estrella Mountain is to be responsive and relevant for not just faculty, but also our staff, our wonderful colleagues who do so much for our campus. And this was actually part of a session that Professor Steve Peist has been wonderful at bringing to our campus in ways that we can better support how we understand our W-2s, how we maybe understand retirement. We did a session on retirement last year. And so this is just a way for us to continue to support not just people's professional development, but also their capacity to understand how they are contributing to our college and the financial implications that those contributions may have on their family's well-being and financial stability. So with that, I want to welcome Steve and thank him again for leading today's session. And I will turn it over to him. Just so everyone knows, we are recording this so that we can have the opportunity to create resources for our team, our college team. And we also are very grateful, again, through the support of our facilities team to be able to offer this a video also in Spanish after the event.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cantu. Really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here with you today. Today's session is merely to accomplish two things. One, it is to make sure that everyone knows how to access their W-2s, because there are two different ways. And I'm going to walk you through that initially. And what information is on your W-2 for tax purposes. I am not here to give tax advice. As a matter of fact, I don't even do my own taxes. I have a tax consultant who does this for me as well. And I'm only here to help you access the resources and understand why some of the numbers may look a little bit different to you. So I think I'm going to share the screen. And let me see. Got it. Let's go first. Okay, I'm sharing screen. You should all be able to see that. And I am currently at the Estrella Mountain website where the employee tiles are. I just want to make sure that our interpreter is good. And I'm going to go to HCM, where all of our financial information lives. Okay. And you're going to go to where it says payroll. And you're going to see W-2, W-2C forms. If you have given consent, it will show a check mark here to get you your W-2 form electronically. This way you can access it on HCM for the past 5 years. So let me just show you what that looks like. And I am not going to withdraw. It's going to say, I give my consent to receive electronic W-2 forms. You hit submit and automatically you will be able to get your W-2s from HCM electronically. You can print them out or not. It is up to you. And this way you can have access. So that said, I'm going to go to my W-2 form and I'm going to view I'm actually going to go to the year before. That's okay. View form. And I know you can do this. Oh, so it's a pop-up. So I'm going to enable the pop-up. My fault. And you can fix that. Let's try it one more time. I apologize for that. I didn't notice the pop-up blocker. Someday. And there is what my form will look like in electronic form here and what have you. And you will notice that there are some very interesting things that take place. And I'm going to go over those with the presentation, which I'm about to put up here. And this is a blank form, right? Not? Okay, let me go back. So stop share. Thank you. How about that? And this is what your W-2 would look like if you had your information. Your social security number would be here, or your employee identification number. Either of them would be A or B. Your employer's name, which is the Maricopa Community Colleges, and it's going to give a Tempe address, and that is the proper address for our employer, okay? And that's because we work for Maricopa. Even though we specifically work for Estrella Mountain, our official overall employer is the Maricopa Community Colleges. So here, in this area here, you're going to have numbers that are going to look like, well, I'll just throw in a number. They're not going to let me do that. Okay. So it's not as fillable as they say it is. Cool. So I'm just going to say, this is the number I want you all to make. $80,000. I'm just going to make up stuff in terms of federal tax withheld. It's going to say they took 12,000 from you. Here's where it gets interesting. These numbers are going to be different. Your Social Security wages are going to be a little bit higher than your regular wages. That doesn't mean they're taking money from you twice. What it means is that that number is what you would be eligible for and what they've taken on your basis, on your base salary, and then your Social Security tax withheld. I'm just going to randomly throw out this. What have you? And then you'll have other things that will be given here. If you were a tipped employee, none of us are, you would have a tip amount in the allocated tips. Your Medicare tax withheld is going to look very, very similar to the Social Security tax, but it's not going to be quite as much. It's probably going to be something like this. So it'll be close, but it won't be exactly the same. Now, the reason why these numbers are important is because when they compute your Social Security amount, when they do that, these numbers come into play because that is the calculation on which they base what you will get when you retire. So you are eligible to start receiving Social Security at 62, in which you're going to get a lower amount of Social Security. Now, the reason why some people do that is because of financial hardship, because they had to retire early for health reasons, or their job went away, a variety of reasons. And I would consult a financial advisor before I took my Social Security early. I would be very, very careful about that, because for some people it makes sense, and for some people it absolutely does not. Okay, so and again, this is when you talk to your family, you talk to your significant others, spouses. This is where you have that conversation and what have you. So a lot of people take it at 65, the same year they get Medicare, because that is when you are eligible for Medicare. What I will tell you is, if you are still working at 65 and you take Medicare, that is a perfectly acceptable option. Hey, how are you? But there are also people that continue with the insurance through ASRS, because our retirement system, because it's really good insurance for us to have. It's actually one of the better insurances for retirement. I've had several financial consultants tell me, you should really get that insurance and have it in your retirement. You can't get a better deal, anywhere else. But again, that's why you consult a financial professional a financial planner, and always, with your family having that discussion. Okay? So that said, a lot of people, depending on when you were born, I can get full Social Security. I'm going to reveal my age sort of here. I just turned 59, so can we edit that out of the recording? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just turned 59, so I will not be able to receive my full Social Security until I reach 67. That is when I get my full Social Security. Okay, so for different people, it's different. I know some people it's 66, and that depends on your age. And like I said, before you did any of that, I would make sure that you consulted a financial professional, and also see how you're feeling. Because sometimes you feel like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm in relatively good health. You know what? I'm going to wait on my Social Security till I reach that full retirement age. That's perfectly fine. I know some people wait till they're 70 to do that. If you can afford that, fantastic. I have yet to meet a person that can do that. I've met a few, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know that you want to wait till 70, but then again, if you're in good financial shape, you're in good physical shape, you might want to do that. Those are options. Okay. Are there any questions either in chat or in either room? A lot of information here. Okay. So some of the other things that happen here, if you follow me and follow my little arrow there. Okay, what do we got in the chat here?
There's talk about raising the full retirement age in 2025. What is the word on who this will impact? Everyone, particularly those close to retirement.
Okay, so that would not impact anyone who is age 55 or older at this time. That I've been made aware of. For them to be able to have that impact people who are this close to retirement would take a 2/3 vote of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. I am not seeing that going to happen. However, they can do it for quote unquote the younger generations, which is unfortunate. But I would tell you, as of right now, while they're trying to do some things with Social Security, and you've heard some rhetoric, there are no bills currently at this time that are active in either the federal government, and even some state governments are kind of keeping their hands off. But that is a legitimate concern and a legitimate question, and that is why you should know your representative and your senator's names. You should be in contact with them often. Tell them you expect them to support your retirement. So I recommend that. I do that all the time. I have a new representative who just got elected. He has already heard from me. I'm sure he's thrilled. Okay. Other questions? Concerns? Now, some of this information appears to be redundant on the form, like you see it before. This is going to be, if you have other insurance, if you have a dependent that you're seeking benefits for, you will see that here. I have a flex spending account, which I do every year. I'm doing 3,100 this year, which is to cover prescriptions, dental that isn't covered by a dental insurance. That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other workshop. That'd be a month of workshops and what have you. That is why I have that flex spending. That will show up on your statement here. If you do that, and it will be 12A or 12B, depending on what you're doing. I also will tell you that one of the other strategies people use, and this is going to be your state tax and your local tax. Here, it's mainly state tax. There aren't a whole lot of local municipalities that have a local income tax, whereas in New York, all of them had a local income tax. So there's a big difference there. So it would tell you the name of that locality. It would also tell you how much was taken out. And that's good information for you to have so that when your tax professional does your taxes, they have the full picture, because you're not going to pay taxes. You see this amount up here, 80,000? That's not what you're going to be paying your income tax on. You're going to be taking deductions and all that other type of stuff, whether it's the standard deduction, your housing, whatever. But all of that is going to be discussed with your tax professional. But you're not going to pay on that amount. That's a very common fallacy misnomer. People say, oh my God, I'm going to owe 20% on my full salary. That's not how that works. You get deductions, expenses, stuff like that. It's on a much lower amount than 80,000. So don't let that scare you, what have you. And like I said, people that are more qualified than I will have an answer to that question. So I've moved down here to show you the black and white part of this here. So when you look at the withholding and what your statement goes for here, this one, copy one, is for your state and city and local taxes. When you file your return, one of these copies is for you to retain and to keep for your records over the years. And I'm going to tell you, you should keep these for at least 10 years. I have my state, actually, I have 30 years worth of these. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds odd, but because the Internal Revenue Service can come back at any time and say, hey, we think you owe us money, and I have the record, show me. Show me what it is, and I'll gladly pay you. And most of the time, weird thing, they've been wrong. And I've been able to prove that, no, I owe you nothing. One time, I found out they claimed that I owed them $4,500. Turned out they owed me $4,500. I said, cash only, gentlemen. Okay. And let me get down here. And your final copy, copy B, goes with your federal tax return. But all of this will be on the sheet, okay? And what I can do is, I actually loaded this into a PDF, which is actually fillable. And I took the basic, because they charge you for this, you can't just have this. But I downloaded it to my computer so I could have it and use it at my own leisure before they started charging me. So, and I'm happy to share that information with Dr. Cantu and the CTL. So if anyone wants to get the free download of this, they can. But they do make you give a credit card, and you have to cancel within 30 days or they're going to start charging you $8 a month, which I think is for a form that you're supposed to get anyway. Why are you charging me for it? But okay, I still don't understand that. I don't have an answer for you. Any questions at this time? Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm actually going to go back to, let's see if I can not screw up the share on this, right? I'm going to actually go back to, and I'm going to share again. I'm going to share my old form here, if you don't mind. You see where this amount is different, wages, tips, others, compensation, and Social Security wages? They didn't take an extra $18,000 from me. I can promise you that they didn't do that. What they did was they calculated what my Social Security taxes are and what was withheld, and this was the income that I was eligible to be taxed upon. They're not taking extra money from me. The amount they took is right here up at the top corner and over here, which is $8,800. Now, we'll talk about what the feds do to you some other time. That's a different workshop. But what I would tell you is one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I think that whoever asked the question about 2025, it's a very, very good question, which is, how is this going to impact if they want to cut Social Security or if they want to change how it's calculated? How is this going to change? I'm going to be really honest and blunt with you. The problems that the Social Security deficit that exist were caused by misspending and mismanagement by our government. I'm just going to be very, very honest with you. Had they left it alone, like they were supposed to, Social Security would be running at a surplus. Now, you're going to say, well, Steve, what can be done about this now? Well, they can change the laws. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Or watch this, they can actually take off the lid because I think the maximum for Social Security wages is $250,000. Now, if they take the lid off of that and make it unlimited, I'm just going to tell you right now, that ends it. There's going to be much more funding. Now, of course, who would be against that? People that make over $300,000. I don't see someone like Elon Musk volunteering to do this. So you should know that it is it's a political hotbed, but if there were people in politics of every ilk, and I'll be honest with you, I've heard from people in both parties that want this to change. So this is not one party over another. I've heard many Republicans and Democrats say, why don't we just take the cap off? And that's a really good question, because if we did, I think that would really, really help. But here we are. And we're kind of stuck where we currently sit. And like I said, the only way you can change it is you let your politicians, both local and national and federal, let them know where you are, what your opinions are. And you can tell them, I vote for people who support my retirement. If you don't support my retirement, I'll be voting for somebody else. And that's a very powerful tool, because I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of minds change. I saw what happened in South Korea over the weekend, where they wanted to introduce martial law. The citizens spoke up and said, we will vote you out. And all of a sudden they said, we were just kidding. And there's no martial law. So the power of the pen, the power of the vote, the power of the ballot still does exist. Okay. Are there any questions? As a matter of fact, the more I think about it, the more I think I'm going to send out the blank template to people, because it's nice to have it, because what you can do is you can play with it yourselves and see exactly how the amounts, because there's a formula to it. And it's nice to have the blank template so that you understand what goes in what box. I know when I get my Social Security statement, my W-2, I like to have, I compare it to prior years. And this way I can make an estimate of, am I going to owe money this year? Even before I go to my tax advisor. And sometimes I know when I go to my tax advisor, I just hand it to her and say, here you go. This one's going to hurt. Let me know when you need the check. And some years she goes, oh, wait, I'll see you in 10 days. It's going to be really, really good. And I'm like, yeah. So it does depend. I hope this was helpful. And if there are any questions, like I said, I'm happy to meet with anybody to go over the template. I would prefer not to see your own wage statements, because I think that's your private business and I don't like to get involved in people's private business. But I'm happy to go over the template and happy to show you how it works and why the numbers are different. Are there any questions?
Steve, I have a question.
Hit me, Dr.
so-
Canty.
So for individuals who maybe are a dual income family, or maybe kids are also participating, how, would you say the template would be good maybe to figure out deductions as a family in terms of maybe someone's income compared to others? How does this work in a family system in many ways?
That's a great question, Liz, because I'll be honest with you. Because I have 2 20-something daughters, and I have my youngest in college and what have you. And he's getting his first W-2 in his life because he finally started working and what have you. So I sat down with him to show him The template works really, really well because whether you use one or you use four to add things together, it will also show you where you can deduct and where it's important for you to deduct. Like if you decide, because now you know the law says that your kids can be on your insurance until they're 26. That might change, but as of right now, that is the law. And we did some dollar cost averaging. It actually made sense to keep my younger daughter on our insurance because she just started out as a dental hygienist, and their insurance is prohibitively expensive compared to ours. And she's on my wife's insurance. She works for ADOT, long story, what have you. But I will tell you, Dr. Cantu, the decision I made years prior was to stay on my wife's insurance exclusively until they took away the cafe credits for our insurance. And I just said, you know what, let me get the buyout plan just for me. That was the most cost-effective way we could do that. And actually it comes out on the template when you do the insurance expenses and the FSA. That's where you can find those deductions. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, thank you so much.
Other things you can do, and I'm a big fan of the flex spending account. I'm a big fan of it because that's how I take care of my prescriptions. And I know exactly what I spent on all my prescriptions and what have you. It really does pay because what I have left over from paying my prescriptions, I use for dental. Or when you have a deductible, the medical deductible, you can use it for that as well. Other questions? I hope this takes the stress out of looking at this for people, because I'll be honest with you, years ago, you know, and this is why having a brother who's a financial planner is very, very helpful. I used to just hand it all to him and say, take care of it. I don't want to know, don't tell me anything, what have you, which quite annoyed him. And then when I was about 32, 33, he insisted that I sit with him as he did my taxes. And he taught me everything. The reason why I understand the W-2 is because he went through it line by line with me. Because I said, hey, wait a minute, why is this amount on Social Security wages more? And he says, no, that's just what you're eligible. That's what they tax, and that's what's taxable. They didn't take more out. They took the same amount, but they showed you what was taxable. So I have to tell you, if you have a financial planner that's willing to sit down and speak with you, that is a great thing. And I think that if you can do that, the more the merrier. Other questions? Is there anything from the other room? And if our interpreter is speaking to me, I cannot hear our interpreter.
No, there is no questions.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. At this time, I'm gonna stick around. Thank you, Jim. I'm gonna stick around for a few minutes in the room. If people have questions for me, please feel free to come and ask. There's pizza still, so if you're hungry, please eat. And I want to thank Dr. Cantu and the entire CTL staff for not only being welcoming and gracious, but being supportive and helping support all of our constituency groups, because all of you make this college run. And I want to thank each and every one of you because we're here to support each other, always. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.